Hi everyone, this is Chris Brazel. Welcome to my world. Great story today for the guys. Remember, in my world, it's the mind, the body, and the environment. And in my world, we live great, we live long, and we live really strong, and we have the life that we want. So the story today is about a guy, and it's from one of my books, Men Do Too, which is a book on real guys, real stories, real results. And at the back, you've got a lot of tips that you can actually do. Even for females, they can do it. My tips are generally for anyone at the end of the day. So let's go into the story. I was hosting a dinner. My daughter's friends had come over to have dinner. There was two guys sitting opposite me. They were brothers. And I could see one brother kept whispering into the other brother's ear. And in the end, it got to me. And I said, "What are you guys whispering about?" And the guy who was doing the whispering said, "Oh, I'm trying to tell him he needs to have a work with you and make an appointment." And I said, "Oh, why would that be?" "Oh, his car's a mess. He virtually has come up. Everything's in his car. He's living with me. He's not working. He doesn't know whether he wants to do this or that." And then all of a sudden I could see his brother kind of melting down, because it's not something you want to be in a dinner party knowing that you're not having much time in life. Anyway, I could see that, so I quickly changed the subject. I said, "Oh, if you want an appointment one of these days, just come along." And then I changed the subject. Anyway, as they were leaving, the brother who had the problem stopped at the door and he said, "I think I would like to make an appointment with you." And I said, "Oh, that's right. Are thinking about it, or would you like an appointment?" And he said, "No, I'd like an appointment." And I said, "Well, that's fine, but I can't do an appointment with you until you clean your car, because I work with the mind, the body, and the environment, and the only physical thing you have at the moment, and I believe it's a mess, is your car. So when you give your car a good clean, give me a call and I will make a time and we will work with you." Now that was about 10 o'clock this particular night. Next morning, really, right on the dot at 9 o'clock, I got this call, and it was a number I hadn't recognized before, but I answered it. And it was the guy. And he said, "Can I make an appointment?" And I said, "Well, you know the rules." He said, "Yes, I was up at 6 o'clock. I've taken the car to the car wash. It's washed, it's polished, it's clean. I've got rid of the rubbish. I've got rid of things that shouldn't be even in the car, and it's perfect." And I said, "Right, that's great. I can meet you later on today. Let's make a time," which I did. I said, "I'll meet you at 2 o'clock. Come." And I said, "Please do not wear black like that black shirt you had on last night. That just says that you're still stuck." And he said, "No, I won't wear my black shirt. I've got plenty of others. Is it still okay for me to come?" And it's quite funny, but not funny. And I do have rules, because when I'm coaching, I want you to have the best life ever. I want you to have a great life. And if he turned up in the black shirt, his head would have still been in the space of being down and out and life not working very well. Anyway, he turned up. He was wearing a beautiful blue shirt. I sat him down. We did his brain codes. And as you know, that's one of the most important, because that gives me the clues to how I'm going to get you in the right space. So we went through his story. He used to be a teacher. He'd moved from way down South Australia to Queensland, and he didn't know what he wanted to do. He was completely lost. He was living just in his brother's apartment, which was probably getting thin on how long he was going to be living there. The only possession he had, as I heard the night before, was his car. That's all he owned, nothing else, no job, and really not knowing where to go and what to do. So quite down and quite depressed. So I asked him a few questions, and of course I got his brain codes, and he had a 175. So 175 meant that I needed to get his head in the right space about his identity. And that's why his car was a mess, because his head was a mess. So one of the key notes that link to a one brain code is the car. So it was a mess. His head was a mess. That made sense. He was a teacher. That made sense as well. And the other brain code he had was a 5 energy, which change for him was not always easy, getting from point A to point B. And I said, "Well, what would you like to do?" And he said, "Well, I've been tossing up, do I join the police force?" He said, "I've looked at that. I'd also looked at becoming a fireman." I thought, okay, that's cool. And he said, "I could be a lifesaver because I love the water." And I thought, that's cool. So he had all of these. He wanted to be anything but a teacher, but actually teaching was what his codes, teaching or coding was where his codes actually led. And I said, that's okay. Let's not worry about what you're going to do. What I want you to do is I want you to walk, because of the 7 brain code, to the pool, which I know is very close to you because I knew exactly where he was living with his brother. And I want you to do 40 laps a day, not 28, not 39, 40. I don't care how long it takes, but you do 40 laps a day in the pool and you walk to the pool to do it. The next thing is what I want you to do is I want you to be the one who cooks dinner of a night. So when your brother gets home, he's not worrying about cooking. You've got dinner ready on the table. The other thing I want you to do is go and buy a peace lily, a beautiful peace lily, which is like a harmony plant. And I want you to put that in your room. So one, let's go back. One, his brain code was the car. He cleaned that. The other brain code he had was a 7. So walking is very important, water is very important, and getting a belief. So therefore walking, which was a short distance to the pool, to do the 40 laps, get out and walk home. That connected to using his knowledge in the best way he could. Then his unblocking code was the kitchen, which has changed, which was the 5 code. So by him working and cooking in the kitchen, he was connecting to what was going to work there for him. It took only 6 weeks. Honestly, it was awesome. I worked with him quite a few times. He was religious every day, getting up, walking to the pool, doing his 40 laps, and then cooking dinner when he got home. His brother thought it was actually unreal because his brother wasn't that great in the kitchen, and when someone cooks dinner for you after you've had a long day is absolutely brilliant. So what happened after the 6 weeks? Well, after the 6 weeks, he rang and he said, I've made up my mind. I'm going to Western Australia. And I said, that's awesome. What are you going to do over there? He said, I don't know, but I know that's where I need to go. So he went over there. And what happened was, within a very short period of time, like I think it was only a week or 2 weeks, he signed up to teaching again. And he got back into the teaching. He then met an amazing lady. He then got married. He's having best life ever. So he actually really just needed to stop living where he was living and live in a different state. And he needed a break away from it. But his mind, his confusion, everything was going on. He couldn't work out the way. So of course, when he stopped renting his apartment, he put his resignation in. The only thing he had his car, which was jam-packed with all of the possessions that he had. And the fact of the matter is, when you get your mind in that space, then also it's easy to drop the lolly papers or the empty can of drink, because you're in that horrible state of mental frustration and confusion. He was so lucky he had a brother to go to live with and stay with for a while. So if you're out there, change has to happen sometimes in our life. And so it doesn't have to be difficult, but from your brain codes, you'll know exactly where in your environment you need to look for. So with his 1 brain code, the only thing he had was the car, so I knew to look for that. Then he had a 7 brain code, so I knew he was tied up with an emotion. He didn't know how to get out of the emotion. So the physical or the environment connection was water. The reason I got him to do 40 laps is I needed a transformation to take place, and the 40 is breaking a pattern. So I needed to break the pattern of where his mind was to where I needed to get him to go to. And his other brain code was a 5. So the area in the house was the kitchen, cooking and nourishment. And so when he was there cooking and nourishing his brother, it made him feel great. It brought his self-worth back up. And he started to feel like his old self again. Sure, when he decided to go to WA, he just knew, and he had it in his gut. He said, I just know I've got to go there. And so he was feeling confident. And I think even though when he was heading to WA, he even knew then that he was going to get back to teaching, because teaching is what he was actually brilliant at. So this is me out. So remember, the Men Do Too book is awesome. We have had some mums actually buy this book and just leave it in the living room. Just leaving it sit in the living room, and can even work for husbands. They'll pick it up and they'll read through it. They might only read 1 or 2 pages, but they will constantly pick it up. And we've had one mum who, she bought it, put it in a living room, really concerned about her son. He didn't have a job, he was just locking around doing nothing. He would keep picking it up, and after a while he then asked his mum to make an appointment with me. So little things you do to help another person can be quite easily, they don't have to be big mountain things that you feel you've got to move. Your pure intention to help someone will immediately vibrate out there. So if you're out there and you need any help, just get in touch. If you want the book, it's just on the website, go purchase it. But don't sit stuck when you can easily move into where you want to be. And as I said, it's the mind, the body, and the environment. It's so important to know your brain codes, because you know exactly where in the environment it affects you. You know, so you step outside the emotion, and then it's great, live long, and most of all, live strong. And when I say live strong, that means you're of sound mind and body, and there's no need to worry about anything. So this is me out until I've got another success story for you. Cheers for now.